Hello, my friends. Thank you so much for joining me. Sorry, I'm a couple minutes late. Was having some trouble starting the live. I see we already have some questions from Kelly. Hi, Molly. Grateful for your channel. What actually causes difficulty breathing with LPR? So LPR can actually inflame our airways. The enzyme pepsin can be inflammatory. So that is one way that can happen. If someone also has asthma, reflux can definitely exacerbate asthma. So yeah, it's airway inflammation or asthma exacerbation. Thanks for your question, Kelly. Veronica, please address throat pain, inflamed lymph nodes in throat, and congested pharynx. I think you may mean larynx. Okay, throat pain, inflamed lymph nodes. Well, lymph nodes, you do that. If a lymph node is inflamed, it does usually indicate that there is some sort of thing that your body is fighting off. So potentially this could be a little bit of like a viral situation we'd want to look into. That's a little bit something I definitely want you to see a doctor for. Throat pain can be a reflux symptom, but it can also be so many things. You definitely got to see a laryngologist because they are the throat expert. A laryngologist will look in and see if you're having signs of reflux or not. Histamine intolerance. I have an amazing recent podcast episode with Dr. Zachary Spiritos. And histamine intolerance, we're usually seeing signs of it could be shortness of breath, skin issues, reflux with basically like anything you eat. It doesn't seem to be correlated to certain foods. You could even be having like a heart kind of racing symptoms, things like that. So definitely go check out that podcast because he dives deeper into that in the podcast. Thanks, Jessica, for your question. Alginate, is there a limit on how much we can take per day? If I'm eating 4 to 5 small meals a day, can I take alginates each time I eat? You can take alginates each time you eat, but yes, it can get expensive. So typically people will use it when their symptoms are the worst. Ashley, is famotidine safe to take each day for life? What is the research on that? This is a better question for your doctor. Medications are not my forte in terms of I can't prescribe medication. So all medication questions should be asked to your prescribing physician. But what I will say is that many reflux expert doctors like Dr. Jamie Kaufman believe that famotidine is a better long-term option when it comes to acid reflux medication compared to PPIs. So that's something that I wanted to share. All right, 3-arc covenant beauty. So if you're struggling with GERD, I definitely recommend looking at all my YouTube videos, my acid reflux relief playlist. I've had so many emails from you guys saying like that you've healed your reflux just by following those videos. So definitely don't sleep on those. Ashley, I would get swollen lymph nodes in my neck during reflux flares. That's really interesting. I need to look more into that because that's not something I've heard. Lots of reflux symptoms, and I haven't necessarily heard swollen lymph nodes. It's possible that your body is reacting to kind of an increase in inflammation. It's also possible that you have a little bit of a virus, and that's why your reflux is flaring. Post-viral LPR, post-viral reflux is a thing. And a lot of our clients, they do mention that they have increase in symptoms when they get sick. So I wonder if something like that is going on. Justine, Emily, can gastritis contribute to reflux? So it's usually not that gastritis is causing reflux. Gastritis is often a finding that we see in an endoscopy when you're going to kind of look at how things are looking. Usually the chief complaint that calls for an endoscopy is reflux, heartburn, stomach pain, things like that. And then gastritis is a common finding that coincides with reflux. Gastritis can be due to H. pylori, so we definitely would want to rule out H. pylori. You have to look at if your gastritis was chronic or active. It's a little bit different person to person, but from a medication standpoint, they typically do treat these things with PPIs. The irony of that, though, is that long-term PPI use can cause gastritis. So we do want to be having that conversation with our doctor about, is this something that I am to be on forever? Like, what does my treatment plan look like? if you don't want to be on PPIs forever. We have to keep that conversation open so that they know you're doing everything you can from a nutrition and lifestyle perspective so that we can, not have this be a long-term issue. PJ, my lymph nodes feel swollen with LPR. Don't know if they're as bad as they feel. Interesting. Yeah, I definitely want to look at that. I'm trying to think. I wonder if the throat is swollen and it's like pressing on the lymph nodes or something. I have to look into that. I definitely will. You're welcome, Lisa. Bluegrass Man, great channel. I had esophageal spasms 2 years ago. It led to esophagitis, secured it on my own, and I just got spasms again a month ago. Doesn't seem like anyone knows why this is brought on. So esophageal spasms, I just got off a call with a client. We were talking about this. Reflux can irritate the muscles of the esophagus, and this can lead to spasms or hypercontractility of the esophagus. Really, really common. It sounds like you may have had like a little bit of an uptick in your symptoms. So, definitely go check out my video about what to do in a reflux flare. I would really recommend checking that one out. Jessica, what time should slippery elm be away from food? Usually it's about 30 to 60 minutes before a meal. I am working on my very own reflux supplement. I have a ton of drawings going on. We're working on the label. This should come out in the fall. It's going to be a combination of slippery elm, zinc carnosine, L-glutamine, a couple other things. So really excited about this. So usually before food or in between meals, you don't really want to take it like an hour within a meal. And then melatonin is definitely at night. Bluegrass Man, do you know why acid reflux goes along with esophageal spasms? I believe that I just sort of just what I was saying about reflux irritates your esophageal muscles, and the irritation can cause inflammation, which impacts the function of the esophageal muscles. So this can cause hypercontractility of the esophagus, esophageal spasms, esophageal dysmotility. Prolonged reflux can impact esophageal muscles. We do see this improve with control of the reflux, though. Worthless Demise, hi again. Welcome back. I remember you from last week. How long did you stay on PPIs in your journey? How long would you say is safe to stay on them? This is such a good question. I was on them for about a year, and I have a video on how I weaned off of them. So definitely check that out. That video, I share exactly how I weaned off of them, how I slowly, gradually did it, things that you can do while you're doing this so that you have the best possible outcome. I just went really, really slowly. Slow and steady wins the race for that. In terms of safety, like it really depends on the person. It really does. I think that, again, I'm not a medication expert, but what I have read based on my research, based on my understanding of the PPI and nutrient absorption risk, which is, by the way, the only real thing we know. There's a lot of myths about PPIs out there. The only thing we know for sure is that it impacts nutrient absorption. That's the only thing we know for sure. And I think I have a live conversation with Dr. Spencer Payne about this. PPIs don't cause cancer. They don't cause kidney failure. They don't cause all these crazy things that people say, but they do impact nutrient absorption. So this is a little bit different if you're like an 80-year-old woman who's already osteopenic or has osteoporosis versus like a young person, that could use these PPIs for a 3-month period to get some relief. Like there's a big difference in those two scenarios. So that's just something to keep in mind. But I think that having that conversation of, is this a long-term plan for me? How can we make this a short-term plan is important. So short-term would probably be considered, I would say like 3 to 6 months. That's something to think about. Water balloon fight, could you expand on post-gastric sleeve need for PPIs? So when you have a gastric bypass surgery, such as a gastric sleeve, there is an increased risk for reflux. And sometimes they'll recommend PPIs because of this. But again, that's something that, sometimes certain gastric bypass surgeries can also impact your nutrient absorption. So you'd want to talk to your doctor about, is that really necessary? Can we use alginates instead? Can we use famotidine instead? There are potentially less long-term risks of using famotidine. So that's something to think about. Lots of medication questions on here. But with gastric bypass surgery, we have a lot of clients who are post gastric bypass, and it really, really important that we're slowing down during meals, eating slowly, chewing super well, sticking to those really small portions throughout the day. That is really, because the stomach capacity is smaller, that's what we're aiming for. Ashley, are there any known side effects with famotidine? There are side effects with every single medication. I think I already answered that question though, about how famotidine is typically considered a better long-term option per Dr. Jamie Kaufman. Jennifer, can I ask how long it took for your Globus to go away? Plain instrument, it's been really disruptive. I'm really sorry to hear that. So for the Globus, that's interesting. And that is often associated with GERD or LPR, but it can be other things. It can also be other things. So you want to make sure that it's not allergies, it's not anxiety, because that can cause that too. From a reflux perspective, typically, if you are consistent with the anti-reflux strategies on my page and all my YouTube videos, typically people feel better within a month. They get results in a month, but for complete healing, it depends how long you've had reflux. It could take anywhere from 3 months to a year. It really depends on how long you've had reflux going on. Bluegrass Man, I've seen you talking about dairy and eggs, vegan crypto channel helped me with my esophagus. Yeah, I don't think you need to eliminate dairy or egg products. I try to really not get too restrictive with the diet, because there's already, in the healing phase where we're eliminating all those acidic things and spicy things and chocolate, there's already a lot of things to avoid. So I try not to get too restrictive, because that can actually backfire for a lot of people from a mental health perspective, from a weight loss perspective. So I don't recommend eliminating gluten, dairy, eggs like right off the bat. If you feel better off these things, that's great, but it's not part of my method that we remove all of those foods. And there really is not any research that those are acid inducing. Hi, Deborah. Doctor suspected acid reflux after endoscopy. Is acid reflux normally listed as suspected? Yes, after an endoscopy, like if they see that the Z line is irregular, if they see a little bit of inflammation or irritation, they would say suspected. Yeah, I've seen a lot of that language. You're welcome, Jennifer. Water balloon fight. My friend struggles with mild gastritis 8 years post-gastric sleeve and can't wean off PPIs. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. It's really sweet of you to ask for your friend. Yeah, gastric sleeve surgeries, gastric bypass, you really have to be careful. There is a lot of risk of reflux there. Have you ever seen reflux cause tinnitus? Yes. Great question, AO. Have you ever? Yes. Reflux can cause tinnitus. It can cause ear pain. It can cause nasal issues. Like it's kind of wild. A lot of different types of symptoms can happen from that. Great questions, guys. I just released a podcast today with a Buddhist monk who cold emailed me. He emailed me and said that he weaned off PPIs and can eat anything he wants now because of my YouTube channel. And he lives in Australia. And I was like, I have to talk to this guy. This is such an interesting story. So that podcast is actually phenomenal. It just came out today. And he wrote a poem for you guys. He wrote a Buddhist poem. And it's about your reflux healing journey, and it's about patience and self-compassion and healing. And I'm glad you liked it, Bluegrass Man. That's awesome. Yeah, it's really interesting. It's a very interesting conversation. I definitely recommend checking it out. So thank you all for joining us for this week's Q&A. Every Monday, I'll be back here, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. Thank you for being a part of this community. And I'll hang out for just a little bit. One more minute, and then we'll log off for today. But thank you all so much. Yeah, you're welcome, Ashley. Water balloon fight. Yeah, stress impacts everything. Stress is the root cause of so much. Thanks for joining, guys. Definitely check out that podcast. You can listen to the Reflux Revolution podcast on YouTube, but you can also listen to it on Spotify, Apple Podcast. Yes, Juan, I have definitely seen reflux causing malnutrition for sure. And that's why I try not to get too restrictive with the diet. VG, great idea about a podcast on how to reintroduce foods after healing. Yes. Okay, we will definitely do that. That's a great idea. Jennifer, do you have a favorite meditation app other than FLORA? The FLORA app is my reflux healing app. I really like it because it has the reflux hypnotherapy and reflux specific meditations. But other than the FLORA app, I also like Insight Timer. Awesome. I will put the link to the FLORA app here. If you want to try it, there is a totally free week. Just because we mentioned it, I'm going to drop it here. But thanks, guys. It was great to chat with you, and I'll see you next week.